Hello students, this particular video is about the literary sources to write medieval Indian history. I have prepared another video on the sources in general to write history of India or in general history writing. So this video is basically to inform students about the importance of different kind of sources in writing history. So here I am specifically talking about the literary sources. And when it comes to literary sources in pre-medieval times, we have different category of literary sources, which you can again look at the other video that is available. In this particular video, I am talking about some specific text that emerged in this time. These includes one that is the category of Tarikh, which were written mostly in Persian language. The other category is Premakyan. Premakyans are not court chronicles or not official history. These were narratives, and these were also written mostly in Persian, but also other languages were used. And then we have Malfuzat, another category of literature that emerged in medieval time. And also we have some regional court chronicles, and these are like in context of areas that were not in the heartland of India. These were in in the frontier areas like Kashmir or Northeast. So that is the last category. So when we look at the Persian Tarikh tradition, it started under Delhi Sultanate rule in Delhi and surrounding regions. These texts were officially the history of the court. So basically the emperor or the sultan used to appoint certain court historians to write about the developments in his territory or in his kingdom. So we have one example of Ziauddin Barni's Tarikh-e-Firuz Shahi. So this is an example of official history or Tarikh tradition. So basically, as we know, Tarikh means history, and here the attempt is to write something that is from the perspective of the government or from the perspective of the emperor or sultan. Barni's Tarikh is a good example of how court chronicles were written using court historians. And as I have said, most of the Tarikhs were composed in Persian. So the second category of literature that emerged in this time is again something that is specific to northern India or western India. So here we have seen some examples like Chandayan, Mirgavati and Padmavat. So in this text, what we see is that these are some kind of popular tale on love. It can be romantic, it can be love towards the god. So basically Premakyans are talking about some narratives that are initially this circulates amongst the bards, and then these bards bardic traditions get written down. And here again we see use of other languages also, like Turki or Hindavi. So Hindavi is a kind of precursor of modern Hindi and Urdu. So we see that development in this time. In case of Chandayan, it was composed by Maulana Daud during Firoz Shah's reign. Mirgavati was composed by Qutbad in 1503 and during Hussain Shah Turki's reign. And Padmavat was composed by Malik Muhammad Jaisi in Sher Shah's reign. So in these three categories of text, we see that the style was not uniform. For example, in case of Chandayan and Mirgavati, these were composed in Katha style. Katha means music narrative by wandering mendicants. And here also we see the use of instruments like kingri. And the languages were Turki, Persian and Hindavi. The Masnavi style is visible in the later Premakyans, which also is an example of Padmavat. Chandayan and Padmavat were composed in Hindavi. Mirgavati was composed in Turki language. Premakyans are a fascinating example of the blending of Indian and Islamic literary traditions in medieval North India. These Premakyans provide information on urban life, material culture, and offers interesting glimpses on women's lives, because in these stories most of the time the main protagonist was a woman, and she would basically talk about her experience, her view on life, and also these characters are often showed as feisty, bold and assertive. The next category of literature that developed in this time is Malfuzat, and this Malfuzat literature means discourse or spoken words. So basically these were teachings or preachings of the Sufis, and later these were written down by the disciples of these Sufi saints. So these texts were also composed mostly in Persian. The other categories includes regional court chronicles, and I can mention here Buronzis. Buronzis were composed in the royal Ahom courts, and also sometimes specifically in the later Ahom time, because the Ahom time period is a very lengthy time. So in the later Ahom period, these Buronzis were also composed by non-officials or sometimes officials on personal capacity, not as official history. So we see that these are different categories, and in case of Buronzis, these were initially composed in Thai Ahom language, which is the language of the Ahoms who migrated from somewhere in Southeast Asia, and later Assamese language was used to compose these Buronzis. So now these are the different categories. So here always there are some limitations in these text, like these texts, specifically Tarikh is something that is a record of the state, so they may provide some kind of authentic information, but they may also include exaggerations. Similarly, when we talk about the Bardic narratives like Malfuzat or Padmavat or Premakhyans and Malfuzat. In case of Premakhyans, these were of bardic nature. Malfuzat were initially spoken words, and then later these were written down. So of course we can see that the original text was perhaps modified, and despite these shortcomings, these sources have real significance. These different categories of written sources help reconstruct the history of medieval India. While Tarikh and Buranzi were official court history, Premakhyans offer an alternative source to understand the history of the people. The Malfuzat offers another new way of understanding medieval Indian history, because Malfuzat is talking about religion also, because these were mostly written or words by the Sufi saints. So all of these sources together gives us a fair idea about the society, economy, the political structure, religious beliefs, and what kind of religious environment prevailed in this particular time. However, whenever we use sources specifically for ancient and medieval time, we also have to look at other varieties of sources like archaeological remains, or even things like coins or numismatic evidence to understand better. Thank you.